So I was really isolated. And when you're really isolated, I think you begin to look beyond the human realm for companionship.
Mm.
There were cows, there were horses, there were swans, there were crows, there were hawthorn trees, there were giant standing stones. And when I say you're looking for conversation, it's not like one day I woke up and said, oh my God, there's no one to talk to. I'm going to go talk to that tree. It wasn't that kind of direct line, but it was more, I lived in a very silent world.
Mm-hmm.
The phone wasn't ringing. The internet wasn't pinging at me, letting me know I had a voicemail. My teacher was about her own business. And so, I'd be standing with a hawthorn tree and having some thoughts. And then I'd kind of get some thoughts back that didn't feel of the texture and nature of my usual thoughts.
Mm. Like what? Do you have an example or?
One of the things that I can remember most clearly was I was at a stone circle and I just sat down on the ground leaning against a standing stone. And I started thinking about time, but thinking about time in ways that I'd never thought about time before, that my brain had never conceived time that way before. And, I slowly came to realize that I was in the energy of the standing stone, of a very different concept of time. My brain would sometimes take like the energy I was receiving and I would find some words for things. But the English language is a human thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything that came to me in words in English was obviously me, right? My brain translating what I was sensing or feeling. So usually it was more a felt thing, not something that could necessarily be delivered in language to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I gave you a hug.
Right. But it was altering and alchemizing for you?
It was altering and alchemizing for me, mostly because I realized that I was in a world that was perceiving its own existence very differently than I was perceiving its own existence. And even the word perception, like I don't know that a stone perceives per se, but a stone definitely has an energetic signature through time.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite different than ours, right? Our lives are so fleeting.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that stone is there. There's that stone.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was more not that I was walking around getting specific lessons, like go do this, go do that, think this or think that. It was more that I was able to find a communion with the world around me and to realize that there was something beyond my human interpretation of all these things, that they kind of existed without me interpreting them, if that makes any sense.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and how did your perception change about yourself and who you are or were at that time? How did you start to connect in deeper ways with yourself?
I think that what began to happen is I began to see myself as a thread in a much larger tapestry.
Mm.
We grew up in a very individualistic culture here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We're always looking to be singular.
Yes.
How can I be different? How can I be unique? And all of a sudden I started asking the question, wait, how can I fulfill my purpose on this larger tapestry? Like, what's the purpose of my thread in this weaving?